So, today I thought I'd change up my channel a bit from what it used to be, which was haul videos, videos of me and my best friends chilling, really just a lot of random videos that didn't really suit me anymore. So I talked to my friend about this idea that I had to start up a book channel. So this channel is going to be a mix between books and history, because I'm a history junkie, also a little bit of science here and there, but really history because I want to educate people more on history, because science can be relatively explained fairly easily if you take a class or if you read a book. History has many different aspects to it. Some are truer than others, and sometimes you can't always believe high companies or high organizations that people modernly trust. They trust them full-heartedly that they can never lie to us, but typically they do, and it's sad, so I thought I'd educate people on that. So today I figured I'd start out by talking about the Greek and Roman gods, because I'm like that. I really am fascinated with them and I want to learn more, but I am more into Norse deities than I am to Greco-Roman, but I still know a fair amount about them. So I have a list over here of the Greek to Romans and their roles. So yeah. Let's get started. So first off, obviously we have Zeus to Jupiter. There's not really a huge change between Zeus and Jupiter. He's still the king of the gods, still essentially the main deity. I feel like the Romans honored Jupiter more than the Greeks honored Zeus, just because Jupiter was like the sky, and like they weren't really ocean travelers or seafarers, so Poseidon or Neptune wasn't really as worshipped as much, so Jupiter became more worshipped, and so did Pluto, aka Hades. So next up we have Hera, who turns into Juno, who is the goddess of marriage. Again, not really a change there. Still Hera, still the one who favors Ares or Mars over Hephaestus or Vulcan. Still the one who threw Hephaestus or Vulcan off a cliff when he was born because she didn't like him and she thought he was ugly. Still that person. So we got Poseidon to Neptune, god of the sea. Neptune is a lot more unworshipped. Like I said earlier, because they were not seafarers, they stuck to land. They did not travel through seas. They conquered over land. They did have a little bit of seafaring when they went into England, but not a lot, because, like I said, they were not big on sea exploration. They did not care for it. They did not have a navy. None of the sort. Yeah. So yeah, Neptune was definitely a lot more moody than Poseidon, but still fairly worshipped versus the minor gods and goddesses. Next up, we have Cronus, aka Saturn, youngest son of Uranus and father of Zeus. And if you do not know the story of Cronus, basically Cronus was told by an oracle that his kids were going to overthrow him, so he swallowed all his kids. Rhea gave birth to one last son, Zeus. Zeus is the youngest, look it up. Basically gave Cronus a rock and left Zeus on Crete to be raised by Gaia. When Zeus was of age, he went back to mainland Greece, fed his father a mix of mustard and wine, and Cronus threw up the other siblings. Hestia was the last out, so she was declared the youngest for spending the least amount of time on Earth, even though in reality she was the oldest of Cronus and Rhea if Cronus didn't swallow his kids, Zeus being the youngest. Yeah, so I don't exactly know why they worshipped Cronus or Saturn, because in the mythos of the creation of the gods, they chopped him up into like 1,000 pieces and buried him in the depths of Tartarus to be forgotten, not to be seen again, unless you read Percy Jackson then. Anyways, so then we got Aphrodite or Venus, goddess of love. Again, nothing really changes with her. Her birth story is still the same, with, so I don't remember their name, but someone cut off Uranus's testicles, threw them in the ocean, and Aphrodite popped out of the sea foam. So, contrary to modern belief, Aphrodite is not a child of Zeus, more or less his aunt, because of the relation to Uranus. And she'd essentially be the sister to Cronus, or Saturn. So yeah. Next up we got Hades and Pluto. Both are seen as god of the underworld, but Pluto is more seen as the god of riches. Versus Hades, who is the god of the dead, underworld, blah blah blah, magic, dark stuff, dark underworldly magic. Again, this might come up later, but contrary to popular belief, he is not the god of death. The god of death is Thanatos. I can't remember his Roman name for the life of me because it never really popped up because he's the god of death. They kind of just let him do what he wants to do. But Pluto is more seen as the god of riches than he is the god of the underworld, but still fairly a scary guy, which is why he is more worshipped, so yeah. Next up, we have Hephaestus and Vulcan, both god of the forge. I believe both are married to Aphrodite. Again, nothing really changes between them. Like I said, still the kid who Hera throws off a cliff, or Juno if you're Roman, but yeah, still that guy. Then we got Demeter and Ceres. I probably butchering a lot of these names. I can do the Greek names. I cannot do the Roman names for the life of me. So I'm just gonna say Ceres? Anyways, goddess of the harvest. Most of all, going along with the harvest typically takes place in fall, so she is related to the goddess of the fall, whereas Persephone, her child with Zeus, incest, is related to the goddess of spring because Persephone is gone throughout basically the fall and the winter, like the end of fall into the beginning of spring, because she is down in the underworld with her husband Hades, or Pluto. Can't remember Persephone's Roman name if she has one. I'm probably forgetting a lot. Anyways, we have Apollo and Apollo. Apollo's name didn't change for some weird reason. Still don't know why Apollo's name did not change. But he is the god of music and medicine still, so yeah. Oh, also poetry. If you did not know that, going along with the music, Apollo is the god of poetry. And if you like Percy Jackson and Charles Apollo and Heroes of Olympus, you also know he's really terrible at haikus. Anyways, so we got Athena and Minerva, who are the goddesses of wisdom. Athena has brain children, like how she was born from Zeus, like out of the brain, but she's still seen as one of the virginity goddesses, because she doesn't have sex, she just kind of pops a child out of the brain. Yeah. And then we have Minerva, who is 100% chastity, doesn't deal with mortal men at all, and has no children. Which I don't know how they'd explain Daedalus then in Roman times, because Daedalus was a child of Athena. If you don't know who Daedalus is, he was the creator of the labyrinth with the Minotaur on it for King Minos of Crete. Yeah, anyways. So then we have Artemis and Diana, who are both another one of the virginity goddesses. There's 4 virginity goddesses. Modernly, there's Artemis, Athena, Hestia, and Hera. They are typically seen as the virginity goddesses because Hera doesn't deal with mortal men. So yeah. They're both goddess of the hunt, both goddess of chastity, both goddess of the moon. Nothing really changes between Artemis and Diana. Now, if we're going between the Greeks, between Selene and Artemis, there's a big difference. I can talk about that later, about like the Titans to the gods and the primordials to the Titans to the gods. I'll talk about that in another video, but for now, let's keep going between the Greeks and the Romans. So then we have Ares and Mars, both the god of war. Again, nothing really changes between them from what I have seen. They're just both the god of war, both the favorite of Hera and Juno, and in some cases, still the affair guy. I don't know, what do you call a guy in an affair? Like, I know you call them, like, if a guy's having an affair on a woman, like, you call the woman he's having an affair with, like, the mistress. What do you call the dude? I don't know. But basically, he's the guy who Aphrodite is cheating on Hephaestus with. In some myths. Just saying. Ooh, also, Apollo, canonly, in Greek mythology, is a bi-king. He's been known to have many relationships with men and women alike. Ooh, same with Poseidon and Aphrodite. That actually makes a lot of sense because she is the goddess of love, which relates to the goddess of sex. Just saying. Okay. Anyways, so then we got Hermes going into Mercury, messenger of the gods. Again, nothing really changes there. There's not a lot of myths with Hermes or Mercury in it. I think one of the... Yeah. Like, I mean, he's in the Odyssey a lot. I believe he's in the story of Heracles too. It's just kind of rusty with some of my Greek myths that I don't particularly like. So, like, Heracles, I'm not a Heracles fan. Anyways, so then we got Dionysus and Bacchus, god of wine. And actually, here's a fun fact about Dionysus or Bacchus. Dionysus was actually raised as a female before he was an Olympian god. He was raised as a female by his family in Greece. So he is now seen as the god of like transgenders, queers. He is seen as the god of those who feel left out and who are cast aside and outcasts. He's also the god of insanity and partying to some extent. He can also turn people into dolphins. So that's fun. But yeah, so being the god of wine, he also has control over grapevines. So that's fun. Okay, here's a name that I'm going to butcher 100%. It's Persephone. Proserpine? Proserpine? I'm just gonna say Proserpine. Goddess of the underworld, goddess of the spring, flowers, pretty. Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing really different between Persephone and Proserpine. Proserpine. I'm still confused by this name, okay? I'm just gonna say Persephone because people typically know who Persephone is. I mean, she's the daughter of Demeter who was kidnapped by Hades and now has to spend like 6 months in the underworld. But yeah. So yeah. Also, speaking of Persephone and Hades, they actually did not have a terrible relationship. Hades kidnapped her way back before, like, kidnapping your wife was, like, frowned upon. So he really didn't do anything. They actually got along pretty well. Unlike Hera and Zeus. Just saying. Please don't spite me. Anyways, so yeah. So then we actually have one of the biggest ones that I feel like people know is Eros and Cupid. Both seen as the god of love. Depending on which one you read, Eros is a child of Aphrodite. Sometimes, like, he's her brother. Sometimes he's a primordial. And actually, if he was a primordial, that actually kind of would make a little bit of sense. So, primordials are also known as the giants. So, like Gaia is also seen as a giant. Uranus is also seen as the giants. Polybotes, Nyx. Actually, Nyx isn't seen as a giant. She's a primordial. Same with Erebus. Tartarus can be seen as both a giant and a primordial, but typically as a primordial being of the pit. So I definitely see Eros as a primordial just because I don't know, I don't really think of him as Aphrodite's son, because that's weird. They're both he's the god of love, like, if you know Cupid, like, cute little guy on Valentine's Day, like, bow and arrow, that's the myths. That's where they came from, was arrows. Excuse me, in ancient Greece. So next up, I was just talking about some of these guys. So we have Gaia, or Terra. Actually, fun fact, my friend who I'm going to be doing this channel with, her new little sister, her name is Gaia, so, yay. Anyways, so she is the goddess of the earth, typically seen as Mother Earth. I'm sorry, I was listening to Rent earlier, so now I got, like, La Vie Boheme stuck in my head. The great daughter of Mother Earth. Yeah, okay. Theater kids will understand me. But she's the goddess of the earth, primordial. I actually don't like that they say goddess, because she is not a goddess. If anything, she is a giant, if you do not believe primordial, because primordial being is typically seen as Nyx, Erebus, and Kronos. Or not, actually, yeah, Cronus. Not Kronos, Cronus, Khronus. He's the primordial of time, different from Kronos, Cronus, or Cronos, depending on how you spell it, who is the Titan of time. Also self-dubbed Lord of Time, essentially. But yeah, she's also the wife of Uranus, who is the sky, and also the kind of father of Aphrodite if you look into the myth. Hypnos, also known as Somnus, god of sleep. Nothing really changes because he is a minor god, so people don't typically pay attention or change anything to minor gods, like Thanatos. So yeah. Then we got Rhea, who is also known as Ops, mother of Zeus, wife of Kronos. Can't exactly remember what she's the Titan of, but yeah, that's essentially it. That's all we really know about her. I mean, she's typically in one myth, or like two myths. She's in the creation myth, which leads into the whole God starting myth. She's like in that. That's it. That's really all we see about her. So then we have Uranus, who actually, hang on one second. Actually, Uranus, I can speak, I swear. Uranus in Roman equivalent would be, Salus. I'm gonna leave the spelling here because I don't know how to say it for the life of me. But yeah. So, father of the Titans, father of Aphrodite, if you believe that, because he technically is. But yeah. So, he's the primordial of the sky. I don't know. Man. It's weird. Okay. Anyways. So then we have Nike, or depending on where you live, Nike. I say Nike. Who goes into Victoria, goddess of victory. Again, nothing really changes. She's a minor god. She's a minor goddess. Nothing changes. Then we got Eos, who goes into Aurora, goddess of the dawn. Nothing changes. Minor goddess. Still worshipped, but not as much as, like, Pluto. Then we have Pan, who actually... I'm actually kind of getting a little upset about these last few. I'm borrowing this. I'll leave the link to the website that I got this from below. But I am going to be correcting something on this, so check with me. So, Pan, also known as Faunus, says over here that he is the god of the shepherds. He is the lord of the wild, so the trees, the forest, basically the Lorax. Like, imagine the Lorax. Like, that's essentially Pan. But Pan, in the last few centuries, has definitely stopped being worshipped as much. For those who do worship the deities, he has been less worshipped and less acted upon, unless you're like a vegan or a vegetarian, like Wiccan, pagan, or unless you just really like nature. Pan just doesn't get worshipped as much. Yeah, so basically, like, ever since, like, things started getting built up, trees started becoming, like, just gone massively, Pan essentially started dying. If you believe that, Pan started dying. So, depending on what you believe, Pan isn't really here anymore. He's asleep right now to some people, he's dead, he's faded out to some people. It all depends on what you believe. I personally believe there is some little bit of Pan left, but he is just deep into a coma and won't wake up for centuries longer until the world really needs him. Oh my god, it's like King Arthur. Oh, that's another one I'll be talking about in a later video. Sorry, I get distracted very easily. Might have ADHD? I don't know. Anyways. Probably not. I'm sorry if that's offensive to people. Yeah. So next up we have Selene, who goes to Luna, which is actually what we call our moon to some people, who is the titaness of the moon. And I say titaness when this says goddess because Selene and Helios were titans. They were not gods and goddesses. So next we have Helios, who goes into Sol, which, if you guys know Spanish, Sol means sun. Which actually makes a lot of sense because Latin and Greek are the basis for a lot of languages. Latin specifically for like Spanish, Portugal, German, stuff like that. Around the area they ruled, that was where they, except for Romans stopped going into Germany because of the Visigoths and the other Goth empires. Oh my gosh, this sounds like 2020. Anyways, because of the Visigoths who were resenting the Romans, so yeah. Next up we have Heracles to Hercules. Many of you guys might know the Disney classic Hercules. Actually, Hercules' name is Heracles in traditional Greek mythology. He is not a child of Zeus and Hera. Rather, hang on 1 second while I get this loaded up. Sorry, my computer just kind of like, whoopsie. No, all this sucks. I can definitely not remember his mother's name. Somewhere in my brain, I just don't remember because, like I said, it's not one of my favorite myths. Because of how crazy this dude gets. First I'm going to talk about Odysseus so I can talk about the rest of the time about Heracles. So yeah, so Odysseus, we all know Odysseus, we all love Odysseus, we all love the Odyssey. Come on, y'all read the Odyssey in 9th grade, I know you did, I'm watching you people, I did it, I know you did too. Or, unless you're the idiot like me, you read it in 6th grade. And you've been reading Greek myths since you were like 11 years old because you were a nerd. So he actually goes into Ulysses, which, if you're American, Ulysses S. Grant, kind of named after Odysseus. Just saying. Anyways, Greek hero, famous for the Odyssey and the Trojan War, played a big part in all of it. If you guys ever watched Mr. Peabody and Sherman, like the 2014 animated film, if you guys remember the scene during the Trojan War, that like dude, and if you never really caught his name because you really just weren't paying attention and because you were like really kind of, whoa, muscles, like a bunch of little kids I know, you would not notice that that short, crazy kind of soldier that was portrayed as Odysseus. Odysseus was actually a main hero in the Iliad and the Odyssey. Well, he's definitely the main character in the Odyssey, but he was a main player in the Iliad and the Trojan War as well. Oh man, I have a lot to talk about these people. The Odyssey is definitely one of my favorite Greek stories, so I have a lot to talk about. He essentially very much pissed off with Poseidon a lot because it took him 10 years to get home. 10 years! He spent 10 years in war, and it took him 10 years to get home. Now, I'm going to say this is kind of crazy. Telemachus, who is Odysseus' son, was born right after Odysseus left, or like right after or right before Odysseus left. He was a very much newborn when Odysseus left. He would have no recollection of who his father was. So when they reunite, it's kind of crazy, but hey, it's Greek mythology. All of it's crazy. He's the man who landed on Circe's island, who escaped. He's the man who lost all his crew. He's the man who really needed to chill with Polybotes, or however you say that giant's name, or the Cyclops. Just Cyclops. Yeah. Anyways, because nobody's attacking me. Nobody. Well, if nobody's attacking you, you're fine. Huh? Loser. It's essentially what happened. And then he said, I am the mighty Odysseus. I am nobody. Nobody is the mighty Odysseus. So, Polyphemus. I think that's the name, because I have a lot of information in this head. Anyways, I think my cat's trying to get into my room. Anyways, so basically, Cyclopes are children of Poseidon, and therefore he was cursed by Poseidon for like blinding his child with a giant stick and stealing his goats, or his sheep. They were sheep or goats. Were they sheep or goats? I don't really recall. Either way. I also slipped into it. Okay, anyways, either way. Yeah, he's a big hero, blah, blah, blah. Awesome dude. Also a favorite of Athena. So let's get into Heracles. This is gonna take me like 10 minutes like this last one did. So Heracles is a son of Zeus, and I honest to the gods, forget his mother's name. His name was Heracles, not because he was a child of Hera. Oh no, it was because Zeus knew his lesson with Hera, and that she would try to kill every single one of his children he had with a mortal, because he was being untrustworthy and unloyal. So he said, I'll name him after Hera. Hera has to not kill him now, right? Wrong. Hera literally tried everything in her power to kill him. Everything. Even, I can't remember her name for the life of me, even taking the goddess of childbirth, and like locking her in a headlock, and like nope. Heracles can't be born yet, so his cousin was born first, and not Heracles, so his cousin actually became king, and not Heracles. So, yeah. Sorry, there's loose trash people outside, so my dog's kind of going berserk. Anyways, so, Heracles already is going off to a rough start because he was born late. He was he just kind of didn't pop out for a while, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's a baby. So Heracles was raised kind of like poor, but he had like a lot of strength from his big old pops. So Heracles' mother once caught him in a crib with 2 snakes, and he tied them in a knot, banged them, and yeeted them. And I am not making this up. You might remember from the Disney classic Hercules, he did that with Pain and Panic. Yeah, no. It was with 2 actual snakes that Hera put in his crib. I am not kidding about this. And the only child Hera actually loved was Ares. She threw Hephaestus off a cliff. No way in the heck was she gonna love Heracles. Anyways, so basically, Heracles kind of lives his life just kind of chilling, like becomes this big massive hero, yay! And then we get into the 12 labors of Heracles, and I'm actually gonna look this up because the 12 labors of Heracles. Okay. So, we're gonna go into this. So Hera so basically this king who was his cousin, the one who was born first because of Hera basically whispered and said, yo, hey, this guy named Heracles is gonna be coming. He's your cousin. Give him 12 labors to do. He might die during one of them. And if not, he's gonna kind of overthrow you or whatever. And so the dude's like, okay. So, we're getting into the 12 labors of Heracles. So, number 1, kill the Nemean lion. If you guys don't know what that is, it's basically a lion who is impenetrable from the outside. The only way to kill him is stabbing him through the mouth. Fun, right? Yeah, so that one's fun. Kill the Lernaean Hydra. If you guys don't know what a Hydra is, which, come on. It's a multi-headed snake thing that you cut off one head, two more pop out. Basically immortal. Heracles kills him quite quickly with a burning iron rod. Every time he cut off a head, he placed it on there so it would burn, and he could not reform. So the Hydra could not reform a head, or two heads in this case. Also, in some stories, he tied a bag over the head for extra protection after he burned it. Nice, right? 3, capture the Serenian hind. I can't speak English. Basically, Artemis' sacred deer. Seriously, who in there? Who in the right of mind, a male, would think to kidnap Artemis' sacred animal? I mean, come on, that's just asking to be turned into a jackalope. Contrary to this myth, though, she did not turn him into a jackalope. Very mad about that. Because, if you're a Percy Jackson fan, you know how he did to Zoe Nightshade. And boy, does she regret letting him take her deer now. I'm a book nerd too, if you can't tell. Anyways, this is a name I'm gonna have fun with. 4, capture the Eurymanthian boar. Basically, the people of Mount Eurymanthius lived in fear of this boar. So he chased the boar up a mountain and into a snowdrift. He then took it in a net and brought it to the king, who was frightened of the beast. Then he hid it in a bronze jar. That's one way people describe it. Other ways, he let the boar run off. Also, it was a sacred animal of Ares or Mars. So, yeah, don't anger the war god either. So basically, you have the chastity goddess, the war god, and the goddess of marriage, also husband of Zeus, aka your father, on your bad side now. Dang, Heracles. Oh, this isn't even talking about his wives. I will go into his wives one day. Maybe today, because I have a lot to talk about Heracles. And oh my god, it's already been 35 minutes. Well, I should probably end this soon and just go into a part 2. After I'm done with the 12 labors. So, 5, clean the Aegean stables. I'm not even gonna begin to discuss what is wrong with this one. So, this website that I'm using, granted it is not a good website to be used. I just kind of grabbed it because I just wanted the 12 laborers, like their names, and then I could describe them. But no. They had described them, but they had to describe them stupidly. Because it was not cows that lived in the stables, it was flesh-eating horses. And I am not joking about that. It was flesh-eating horses that lived there. And it had not been cleaned in like 300 years, contrary to this 30 years. It had been like 300. And yeah, he kind of just like put two rivers. He kind of just like ripped out the earth, put two rivers in, and then, yeah. 6 kill the Stymphalian birds. Basically, again, flesh-eating birds. Because everything's flesh-eating in Greek mythology. Even the people. I mean, crap. Tantalus. Man, that dude served his kids right up to the gods. Capture the Cretan bull. AKA, depending on how you read this, well, like this said, at the beginning, it's all up to how you read the story and where you read the story, because they're different everywhere and every time period. So basically, the Cretan bull, savage bull kept by King Minos of Crete, was said to be insane and breathe fire. Also said to be, depending on which one you read, it's the father of the Minotaur or just a rampaging bull. Depends on which one you read. I personally believe father of the Minotaur. I have 3 minutes to talk about the last 4. Okay, cool. Capture the horses of Diomedes. These were the flesh-eating horses I was talking about. So yes, in some stories they are cows inside that stable. In some stories it is the flesh-eating horses themselves. And sometimes it's just horses. It all depends on what you read. I personally read the flesh-eating horses in the stable for 300 years, but it could have been cows for 30 years. I just didn't read that version. Here's the one where you can surely mess up. So, just to rephrase this, he's got Hera, he's got Artemis, he's got freaking Mars, or Ares on his bad side. Now we got the Amazons on his bad side. You guys might know the Amazons from, Wonder Woman, but they were real Greek heroes. Just saying. Anyways, take the girdle of the Amazon Queen Hippolyta. Again, man-hating warriors. Man, how was he not speared? Whatever. Just my thought. I don't like Heracles anyways. 10, capture the cattle of Geryon. He was a winged monster with 3 human bodies and a herd of beautiful red cattle. Basically, to get the cattle, Heracles had to kind of like stab him through 3 hearts, which is very hard, I guess, but whatever. Oh, ready? Here's the one where if you're a Percy Jackson fan and you've read The Titan's Curse, you know all about this one. 11, take the golden apples of the Hesperides. So the Hesperides were nymphs where they grew the golden apples, protected by Aladdin, a dragon with 100 heads. The Hesperides were also the children of Atlas, the Titan who held up the earth. Was he a Titan or was he a giant? I think he was a Titan. I'm pretty sure he was a Titan. And he was. So, yeah, he basically tricked Atlas into getting the golden apples, and then, like, yeah, that stuff. So now he's got the Hesperides and Aladdin and Atlas on his bad side. So Hercules really isn't racking up the points, man. Number 12, the one that makes him famous. Capturing Cerberus or Kerberos, depending on where you live. Actually, I learned this one from Overly Sarcastic Productions, but there is actually evidence that Kerberos is a translation of Spot. Hades literally named his dog Spot. Or, like, it means spotted, but still, he named his three-headed dog Spot. I mean, that's cool. Come on, man. Anyways, so he was ordered to capture Cerberus, the three-headed guard dog of the underworld, without using weapons. Actually, Hades was totally cool with this. Hades added the no weapons rule, because it's like, it's his precious puppy. But yeah, he was led down to Heracles was led down to the underworld by Hermes, went up to Hades, was like, yo, I kinda need your dog so I can get out of these labors. He's like, fine, whatever, take my dog, but no weapons. So, you know, Heracles gets Cerberus, goes out of the underworld, brings him to King Eurystheus, and Eurystheus was like, oh my god, okay, you're done with your labors, just let that thing go back to where it belongs. And Cerberus went back down to Hades to guard the underworld. So, yeah. So that's all I got for you on this list. I think I'll be doing more videos about this just because it was kind of fun to look at the differences between the Greeks and the Romans. But in both, I never really talked about this, but it was Heracles to Hercules. In both, still a child of Zeus and some mortal. He also killed his wife and all his kids in the end. He actually had like 4 wives. Like, dang, man. Dang. He killed most of them. Some of them died, but a couple of them were killed by him. One of them I know was on accident. I can't remember how the other one died, and it's crazy. But yeah. So, I'm just gonna say this now. Contrary to Disney, Hades never really hated Hercules. I mean, sure, he was a powerful son of Zeus, but he never really hated him. He had nothing against Hercules. Heracles, because I'm speaking Greek. He had nothing really against Heracles. I mean, the only time they interacted was when he asked for Cerberus, and, I mean, Hades got Cerberus back in the end, so, like, hey, he has nothing really against him. A bunch of the other gods and goddesses, yeah, there's a lot against him. But hey, that's a story for another time. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope I could teach you guys a little bit something, and if you guys already knew this, then thanks for sticking around through my rambling, because I ramble a lot. Also, thanks for sticking around for my stories, because I have a lot of them to share, and I hope you guys can click that like button and subscribe. And yeah, I'm going to be trying to post once to twice a week. Once things really start getting a roll for me, I'll tell you. I'll post it in my next video, my schedule for uploading. But yeah, have a great day, guys.